Well, it looks like Gypsy Rose has one less thorn in her side. That's right, Gypsy Rose has officially divorced Ryan Anderson.
I didn't know that.
I hate to be the one to tell you that was the biggest alert that just came up on my phone. I wanted to say, first of all, that our hearts go out to both of them from Turtle Time. Amy and I are huge. We know Ryan Anderson pretty well, and I know that he's going through it right now. So I just want to say we are so sorry. But no matter what, I'm sure that they will eventually be better off without each other. Do you agree?
Yeah. Is she with child?
Yes, I am almost positive that she is giving. Yes, because Ryan Anderson, I remember famously, remember when he was texting us, he was like, I want to get a, what's it called when you want to determine the birth, if it's yours? Paternity. He had a little bit of trouble there because I think there was a little bit of crossover where she was maybe sleeping with Ryan Anderson and her new, who's that? Anyway, so I hate this kind of stuff.
Barry Keoghan.
Yeah, yeah. Barry Keoghan is he deleted his entire Instagram. I think once the rumors started going out that he might be dating Gypsy Rose. But I hate to start off Turtle Time with two back-to-back breakups. But I just knew that you and I have been kind of following the Gypsy Rose story for a long time, and it ends officially here with this.
One of our other faves is with child now, or child is Earthside, as they say.
Yes. What a great segue. Speaking of Gypsy Rose, potentially almost giving birth to a baby, we know someone in the Bravo universe, like you just said, who
L. Hubbard's granddaughter is born.
Yes, that is amazing. I thought you and I were predicting what the name was going to be, if it was going to be a play on what, like something to do with L. Hubbard, but it doesn't really have anything to do. Gemma, Britt, Hubbard? No, Koofy, right?
Yeah, however you say that. So I'm just like, what is that going to look like in the future? Like, now she really can't do Summer House, right?
No, I was going to ask you. I think that they will, of course, allow Gemma and Turner to be in one room of the Summer House. They can't say.
That sounds horrible.
I know, but they can't say don't. Could you imagine? Could you imagine if they said like don't come to our summer house because you
in the party house?
Well, you have to imagine. Imagine there's a. I heard. Did you hear that there's like a theater room?
Yeah,
in the summer house.
Well, TikTok. Yeah.
Well, maybe Turner and Gemma could. Maybe that's the one room where production uses. Maybe they could sort of have a little. I don't want to say tent, but like a little.
Pack and play.
Yeah, pack and play, and also a curtain that they could hang up in the corner where Turner and Gemma could hang out, and then Lindsay could film and do whatever she wants, and then still adhere to the rules of having a child. What do you think about that?
Sure. I think they should just fully integrate, like have the baby go on the bucking bronco in the backyard and like just do all of the childish stuff that they do while they're partying, but just like let the actual baby run through too.
I think so too. You gotta. I worry about some of those activities. Do you remember what Kyle did to Wes? Do you remember when what did he do to him?
Stabbed him. His cheap Amazon flame glasses like ripped his nose open.
Yeah, what did he do again? Kyle tried to pull his pants down or something while he was running, or
he shoved him off of that bike.
I could not believe when Kyle did that. No. The perfect solution. I mean, putting my producer hat on, they're only there Saturday and Sunday. She doesn't have to be with her little baby on the weekend. Just hang out with your baby Monday through Friday. Saturday and Sunday, Turner takes over. Right?
That's true. I guess.
Well, Lindsay, obviously, I imagine Gemma and Turner coming to the house on Saturday saying, well, I don't know. What do you think? Do you think Lindsay's not going to, would not film on Summer House anymore because she has a baby in the world? I mean, this is unprecedented.
Right.
Because the entire concept of Summer House is sort of being, not upended, but it's like, this is a party house where you blow off your New York steam, living in the city, you get away. No one's ever had a child there that we know of, right?
No. Yeah, I mean, but also you never know. Sometimes new moms let off the most steam, like maybe she'll be like nuts.
Yeah, of course. That's what I really think if they're doing this, Lindsay, of course, is going to be invited back to Summer House, obviously, without question. So it'll just be a matter of how she figures that out. And I imagine that Turner, I don't know him very well, but I imagine that he would just be watching Gemma and then maybe bring Gemma a couple times, right?
Yeah, or she'll be like friend of like Danielle and she'll just come like one time, or like Schwartz or whatever, where she just comes like once or twice,
Yeah, new bed bug alert.
Yeah, true. I saw who commented that, Paige or Sierra commented like, we'll make room for her between us in the bed.
Oh, that's so sweet. Could you imagine?
Yeah. And then I saw that Kristen Doute is having a girl. So I saw Kristen commented on Lindsay's announcement, was like, I'm loading a playmate for you or something like that.
Who said that?
Kristen.
Kristen said, I'm loading a playmate for Lindsay's baby.
Yes.
Wow. Are these the first? Oh, no. I was going to be like, are these the first under 42 babies? But no, far from it. There's been so many wonderful babies.
Round.
This is the second round of under 42 babies. This is a great crew. Gemma, the soon-to-be Kristen and Luke's baby. Anyone else? They're the only ones that just created.
Yeah, Kyle and Amanda's still taking their time on that. Madison, I feel like talked about it, but then kind of kicked that down the line. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. Well, congrats to Kristen Doute for that reveal. Congrats to Lindsay for bringing a wonderful new baby into the world. We are so proud of you. And then the last bit of Bravo news I had, I don't even think this is even worth talking about for even 1 second, but I read whispers that Teddy is living in a little bunker. Teddy Mellencamp is living in a little bunker underneath Kyle Richards' house amidst her divorce from Edwin. If you remember Edwin, her husband that she's getting divorced from.
Did she say that she's living with Kyle in Kyle's current house, or is she staying at Kyle's old house where Sutton stayed?
She said there's some like appendage or
Casita?
some sort of workaround so that Teddy can sort of be attached to the property, but it's in a different living space, I think. But a lot of people were dismissive, of Teddy. People don't like Teddy very much. So a lot of people I saw that they were like, anything Teddy can do, to remain within this, within the Bravo universe. And so, of course, but, I don't feel that way.
She was saying this on her new podcast with Erica Jane, right?
Oh, I'm not sure.
So now she has 2 podcasts?
2 T's in a pod, and then T and the E, Teddy and Erica,
Diamonds
I guess.
In the rough.
Oh, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I think that, that just shows that Teddy Mellencamp is sort of bursting in the podcast space, I think, right?
I guess. I'm just like, who wanted to listen to her talk to a different housewife every week also?
Well, 2 T's in the pod is very popular last time I checked when I was looking at the Apple charts. Uh-huh. I think it's like a top 10 or 20 Bravo podcast. So I think if Erica wanted that same a podcast experience and she was like co-hosting with Teddy has a track record of building a podcast with another housewife. So maybe they were like, this is all Teddy is doing. Tamara's busy a little bit. So now Teddy can officially be a podcasting empire and host 2 podcasts. Erica on Monday and Wednesday and Teddy and Tamara whenever they can.
Yeah. I guess I'm just surprised because I rarely see any goodwill sentiment towards her online.
Teddy?
Yeah.
I'm a secret, I think I've said this before. I'm a secret Teddy defender. Mm-hmm. I don't understand the full hatred that she has from the Bravo universe. I don't really remember what she did to get the ire of everyone besides being what's her dad's name? No. Well, Cougar Mellencamp? John Cougar Mellencamp.
Yeah.
I know that there's people who don't like John Cougar Mellencamp's music, but then other than that, I just that she was boring, right? Yeah. That people felt like Teddy was being forced upon them. But I kind of felt like Kyle did when she said that it's kind of cool on the internet to hate Teddy, and when she got really mad at Dorit for being a real world friend of Teddy, but then not defending her at BravoCon when that person was being disparaging about her,
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I don't really understand the vitriol towards Teddy still, I guess.
Right. Yeah, that is interesting that she's now part of the plot line again, where did we talk about that episode yet?
Which one?
Where she brought up the guy from BravoCon?
Yeah. I think we that must have been last week's, and we definitely talked about it. Kyle Richards was talking about all of the stuff that she was mad about Dorit, or all of the things that made her mad that Dorit did, and one of them was that Dorit stayed silent instead of claiming Teddy and saying, "I love Teddy," so much.
I remember we were in that hall when that guy asked that question. We were like, "Whoa."
I remember that too. Were we tired during that?
It was the last day. We were like on death's door.
Yeah. Anything else? The only other news I had, because I swear, this was a horrible week for Bravo news. It was just that Gypsy Rose news, which isn't even Bravo related. 2 babies that had stuff going on with them. And then you sent me that Todd, what's Todd's last name from Salt Lake City? Todd.
Well, her last name is Newport, so.
Right, Todd Newport.
Is that his name?
I don't know. Todd. I remember his name. I love him, but he finally got the last piece of his Starbucks mug puzzle. You sent me this. Whitney sent him the one remaining last thing that he had mug-wise, and it was the last one that he needed out of all the Starbucks mugs was Times Square, and Whitney got that for him. So I thought that was. I know. It's so interesting that the last one he needed was one of the most popular destinations for Starbucks mugs in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I got one time a sippy cup from Starbucks in Vegas because it was cool looking, and I don't have it anymore, but I can almost understand the little brainworm that would make you want to collect items like that.
Me too. And Todd's last name, of course, is Todd Bradley.
Oh, where's the Newport?
You know what? I might have to look into that a little bit more than I did, but I just saw that it was Todd Bradley. Did you have any other news that we needed to talk about?
I don't think so. I'm a little behind. I know there were Golden Globe nominations today, and I think they were mostly like what you would think they were going to be.
A wicked sweep.
Wickedly talented. That's a good question, though. Actually.
Oh no! Wicked isn't one of them. A complete unknown. Well, we don't have to go through all of them, but it is exactly what you'd expect.
Oh, wow. There's no Wicked on here, actually.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I don't know what September 5th is.
That's the Israeli hostage Olympic movie. They made another one.
Oh,
we have Munich already.
Okay. All right. Wow. Yeah. I mean, this is a rough year. Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess I haven't seen any of these films except Dune Part 2. Brutalist, Complete Unknown. Well, I mean, these,
Wicked, Best Picture, Musical Comedy, and then Cynthia Erivo, Actress, Musical Comedy.
Oh, good. Okay, well, good. Well, congrats to those nominees. I feel good about what I see here.
Wow, Hugh Grant, Heretic.
Oh my gosh, did you like that performance?
He had fun with it.
Okay, good. All right, well, great. Well, sorry about the slow Bravo News Week. Little Turtle Cuties and Villa Rosa VIPs. I didn't see much that brought a lot of importance into my head.
Yeah. Did you see that the CEO shooter got ratted out by a McDonald's employee?
I did see that. I saw that Luigi was collecting one of the last McDonald's toys, the Wicked launch of toys, and someone spotted him. He said
blew it all for the.
He goes, I want Glinda, the good witch, but he got the opposite of her, Wicked witch, Elphaba, and he said he had a complete meltdown like a toddler, and they go, oh, that looks exactly like the murderer or
They're
assassin.
like, can you smile for us? And they're like,
Yeah.
oh, you're cute, but I'm calling 911.
Yes, and he lifted. So it sucks that that's a classic Icarus situation where he was flying a little too close to the sun. He had a tantrum and he got busted. But we'll see what happens next to Luigi Mangione.
We will be waiting with bated breath.
He's got a Goodreads, by the way. He's got a Goodreads.
I saw that.
I'm not gonna be controversial, just so you know, but
Okay.
I will say he has a Goodreads. I've been seeing all of his Goodreads because I'm a huge Goodreads head. So I was like, oh my god, why the hell was I friends with Luigi Mangione on Goodreads? But he loved. They're showing all of his reviews or whatever, and he gave 3 stars to Steve-O's memoir. And he was like, Steve-O talks about getting hit, in his testicles with a baseball bat, but he doesn't elaborate on how it made him feel. And I was like, what the hell is going on here with Luigi Mangione? But anyway, anything you want to talk about with anything else?
The past couple times you've said that Icarus flew too close to the sun, I keep wanting to bring up that I started watching that Da Vinci Ken Burns series.
Me too. I just started watching that. Oh, I love it.
And Guillermo del Toro says, he's like, they say Icarus flew too close to the sun, and Da Vinci would say not to fly. It's not that you shouldn't fly too close to the sun, it's you should build better wings.
That's what Guillermo del Toro said?
Yeah.
That is so him, to imagine like a creature or like, like something with
I
wings.
love that he popped out. I was like, he's a perfect pull. Like, he loves little curiosities and like invention tinkering, Like, I love that.
Can I say something now? Can I say something controversial?
You think
No. I love Leonardo da Vinci. I mean, don't get me started on the Mona Lisa. Last Supper, but I did find that I was kind of with them trying to justify the importance of why Leonardo da Vinci stands out among all of his contemporaries.
Right.
It was almost like, Shakespeare, the output is there, even though his contemporaries are all amazing and they highlight him. But with Leonardo da Vinci, they were like, the stuff he was doing in his paintings, I mean, the cloud was, this is so offensive. But it's like,
I know what you mean.
It was kind of like, the painting styles. And I was like, no one else did depth perception before. No one else said a dog that's far away in the distance would be painted smaller than a signpost.
I mean, you saw what some of those medieval dogs and cats looked like.
What did they look like? Horrible?
Well, they didn't know what they looked like. So they looked like little like rat goblins in all those paintings,
Oh, some of his contemporaries didn't know what dogs looked like.
Well, I think like earlier than his time, but like, no, I know what you mean. I felt like it was more like they said that he brought in a new perspective of like storytelling.
Yeah, but they also, I mean, I'm getting so mean for no reason about Leonardo da Vinci, but they're also like, look at the faces in this boy with the gold apple, and they're like, look, one is mad and one is happy and one is angry, and no one had ever painted different expressions of faces before. I was like, what? No one ever did that before Leonardo da Vinci? It sounds like you just want to give him credit for anything you can. And also they go, look at his drawings. He was drawing robots with wings on them, and he was so thinking about flying. It's like he didn't invent anything. He didn't even do any of the stuff he was drawing. Right. He just was. I bet anybody in their notebook in the 16th century, when you look at their notebooks, they had a bunch of weird shit that they were drawing that could have been inventions. I just felt so much like I was just like, whoa, is Da Vinci given a lot more credit than, people don't even really like the Mona Lisa that much. Some people, not me.
It's a real nightmare trying to go see it because so many people want to see it. And then you look at it and you're like, okay.
I mean, I love it. I love the Mona Lisa. I love it, but I
think
felt
it's like how it is with all pioneers is like you take them for granted. I mean, he's not taken for granted, obviously, but it's like you have no way to understand what ground they broke because it's
Yes.
so commonplace after the fact,
Yeah, but there were some wins he was getting in his painting that I was just like, I can't imagine a world where no one had ever done what he did. Like,
I mean, did you see some of those, again, like medieval, the medical texts that they were working with before people like him and others like got more down to brass tacks and tried to figure it out? It'd be like a little like devil with like like a little like demon inside its body.
yeah, and people were painting their hearts were in their heads and their brain was in their butt or whatever. But so he was the first one to know like where anatomy was. But I don't want to talk shit, about Leonardo da Vinci, and I didn't get to part 2 when maybe more revelations, but I also didn't know that he classically didn't finish a lot of shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he
like,
has
I'm
the
sick of
last,
it.
yeah, he that one nativity scene where baby Jesus is reaching up to Mary, like he didn't even finish it. He only did the Last Supper and Mona Lisa and a bunch of other shit.
Yeah, he seemed cool though, and it sounds like Florence was like cool, and like everyone you were allowed to be gay or bi or whatever, and everyone was like, who cares?
Yeah, I loved it. I love that stuff, and I loved the patron stuff, like going to Florence and like everybody was celebrated and stuff. That the whole cultural stuff about it was really cool. Did you finish part 2?
No, I think I only saw like the first 10 minutes of part 2, so I have to. Is it only 2 parts?
I think it's 2. They don't know too much about him, I guess.
Did you? Oh my God, what was it? That little boy that lived with him, who he maybe later dated.
I didn't get to that part yet. I got to the part where there was the like a famous male what's the right word? Prostitute, and he had his client list. He like said, look at my client list, it's amazing. And then they didn't do anything about it, but they were just like Leonardo da Vinci was going to him all the time. But I didn't hear about the patron boy.
That's like that Jennifer Love Hewitt Lifetime movie, The Client List.
Oh, what's that about?
She plays a sex worker.
Oh, was it inspired by this
guy.
Leonardo da Vinci list?
But yeah, a little boy came to live with him because like as an apprentice or whatever, and I forget what his nickname was, but it basically translated to like the little demon, because he was such a little mischief maker.
Whoa.
And he'd always like steal cash and like run around and be a little psycho, but then I think they like dated later.
Whoa, I can't wait to get to that. He would steal Leonardo da Vinci's paints and like put different colors when he was trying to paint the sky, and the little demon boy would put red on his paint.
Yeah, he like invented a whoopee cushion.
Oh my!
A pig bladder.
Oh my God! I need to know more about this little stinker that Leonardo da Vinci had running around his studio. Oh my God! Who knows what the result of Leonardo da Vinci's work was caused by that little stinker that was running around.
The little Dennis the Menace.
Totally. Oh my goodness. Well, I can't wait to get to that part of Da Vinci. And I do want to apologize to people who absolutely consider
Great Nation of Italy.
Yes, and to people who consider Leonardo da Vinci one of their favorite painters. I totally understand why you love him. I have to be honest, that was my reaction.
Okay.
But like, it's not, I hope it's not insulting, because like Turtle Time will never, like what we do will never even come close to the achievements of Leonardo da Vinci. So it's kind of like, who the hell am I to say it? You and I aren't going to come close to painting anything that would be as impactful as...
He probably would have invented the podcast way before Steve Jobs or whatever.
Or if in his notebook he would have painted a little circle with a rectangle, they probably would have been like, he invented the microphone.
He probably had some shit that like was a microphone.
True.
Like, he probably did.
Yeah. Well, they were like, if he would have done more stuff, you have no idea what he could have done.
He just had an unlimited capacity.
Amazing. I'm so glad you watched that Ken Burns documentary. I love it. Anytime a new Ken Burns documentary, I like, it's what's that called? Priority viewing. I put it on immediately.
Well, now you should watch, when you're done, then watch Da Vinci Code again or read it, because then you'll be looking at that Vitruvian Man, you'll be looking at that Last Supper, switching the order around, being like, oh, the V is a chalice.
Yes. Yes. Or why did he paint Mona Lisa's smile like just a little thin line? What was she secretly hiding under the table where she was sitting on? I've got total secret Mona Lisa. I love that stuff. I'll watch Da Vinci Code again for sure. I'm so glad you brought up Da Vinci. It was a rough start talking about that other news, but that really struck a nerve for me. So thank you so much for bringing that up. How about we how about we keep talking about a masterpiece?
Yes.
And keep
Yeah.
in the vein of still speaking about masterpieces and talk about this week's episode of Salt Lake City called Mazel Meredith, I think.
Yep.
It was called that?
Yep. It was very good.
Very good. Very good. I love that it all takes place at one event. You know, they knew they had gold when they were filming that thing, and they said, "Oh my God, I think we're going to be able to fill 42 minutes and 44 seconds with this whole thing." Like, that's a great event,
Yeah.
if it's a one episode thing.
Yeah. Everybody's there. Like the whole cast is there, but also Meredith's family's in town. Her mom's there. Her oldest son that I didn't even know or remember existed, Reed, was there.
Yeah.
Her sister.
Yes, and this has been this Bat Mitzvah that Meredith has been teasing, very sparsely throughout the whole season. It was kind of like, when is this Bat Mitzvah going to happen? But it just kind of finally just popped up right before their big trip that they're planning. And for the amount of, they didn't give it a lot of the run up, I guess because you don't really need to, make it as enticing, but ultimately this was an amazing event. Like, they could have been talking about this more if they wanted to, because it was so climactic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love that it was also just at the ski slopes. Like, it was just in the lodge right next to the ski, whatever we call that. Ski
Yes.
slopes.
I love that too. So everyone's kind of mingling and just kind of doing stuff that you do pre-bat mitzvah, like get an espresso martini.
Yes, which I'm sure she's relieved that she was like, I haven't had espresso martini since Palm Springs, and they didn't do her dirty. They didn't show her pissing herself or whatever the hell happened on that bus.
I still stand firm that it was only a liquid barf, but I remember
I think
you.
it's piss.
So Heather pissed on that bus.
I think so.
All right.
Not getting
Yes.
that security deposit back.
Absolutely not. Could you imagine? I've never even come close to doing that in an Uber or a
Yeah,
bus.
brutal.
Have you? JT almost did it on Southern Charm.
I know. I was going to note that we have a couple piss moments to talk about, but I also like that Whitney compliments Brittany's nails, and then Bronwyn's like, "Let me see," and then she turns to Lisa and she's like, "Do you do all that junk on your nails? Do you like them?" And Lisa's like, "I think it's Bridge and Tunnel to do that. It's giving Bridge and Tunnel." And I was like, I love that. I think Heather's daughter's like, "I don't know what that means," and I'm like, yeah, that's a strictly East Coast terminology.
Yeah, can you, for those of us who are not familiar with anything East Coast, what does that mean? People that live near a bridge and tunnel, or have to
come into the city via bridge and tunnel? So New Jersey, Long Island, people that you're they don't even go here.
So if Kyle and Amanda move to New Jersey, which is Kyle's worst nightmare, and they go to a party that Carl's throwing in New York City, they'll be bridge and tunnel people after that.
I guess. I mean, there's obviously a stereotype, but I'm sure that is changing as people are being forced out of the city for it being too expensive,
Yeah, cut them a break. I hadn't heard that before. I also, I want to say that as a setup for this, that every single person has a grudge or a feud going on.
Yes.
Post the camping trip that we talked about last week. And I think the most affected by this is Bronwyn, because now that Bronwyn brought up the Whitney talking shit about Heather thing, and then Angie was in there too, because Bronwyn also brought up that Angie was talking shit about Lisa. Bronwyn is now on the outs with all of the OG cast members and Angie, and she's never been in this place yet. At first, she was only had a Heather fight that she was starting the season with, and then she kind of fucked up with Lisa. And then now she hit Angie and Whitney with one huge remark at the camping trip. And now she's like fully on the outs. And you can tell this whole episode that she feels isolated and out of the cool group. And she can only hang out with now Brittany and Maylee the entire time.
Yeah.
Did you notice that? Yeah, she's really uncomfortable. And I sense Bronwyn's uncomfortableness this entire Bat Mitzvah, and it leads, which I don't want to step on it, but it leads to one of the worst Bronwyn moments I've seen in her entire run so far, when she throws Brittany under the bus, in my opinion.
It's transparent. Yeah, she's like talking to Brittany and Maylee, and she's like, well, I've had beef with everyone, so everyone's talked shit to me at some point, so I know what everyone has to say about each other because everyone's come to me at different times. And this is where Brittany's like, she's saying she's still mad that Angie called her a slut and accused her of sleeping with 10 guys. Then they show the clip where she says 3 guys. And for some reason, that's a sticking point this whole episode of whether she said 3, 5, or 10 or whatever. I don't really know why it makes too much of a difference.
I think Brittany, I love Brittany, but I do think she came into this event just like wanting to have one piece of conflict that she could have, and she doesn't truly care. She was just like, she wanted something to bring to the table a little bit, you know, and parsing what Angie said is like important to her, you know.
Right. Yeah, and she says, she's like, well, if she's accusing me of that, maybe that's because that's what she does with her husband. So that was her, I don't know, attempt.
Yeah, a comeback or what do you call that? To try to just say something horrible in response. And then Bronwyn kind of, you know, is there and she's kind of smiling and saying like, oh, yes, you know, that's amazing what you just said to me. And then she makes an Angie comment saying, does Sean know that he's married to Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde? So she also talks shit about Angie.
Yeah, which I'm like, that doesn't ring true to me, but okay.
Do you don't think that Angie is sort of like Dr. Jekyll?
I don't get that vibe.
Maybe there. Do you know, not to send us on a segue, but do you know too much about that? Do you know a lot about that?
I really don't.
Me neither. I know that Mr. Jekyll is one of the nicest guys in the world. Like Dr. Jekyll is really cool. And then he drinks a potion and then he becomes an absolute asshole. Thing? I'm pretty sure it's like a precursor to Hulk or I think
almost like a werewolf vibe.
Or almost like it's almost like a lot of superheroes. Yeah, werewolf. Like it's almost like or being bitten by a radioactive spider. He does something like he's like, is this gonna make he like wants to be nicer or something? So he takes this cocktail potion and then he turns into one of the biggest assholes in England, I guess. But anyway, I didn't care what was going on there.
Duality.
Yeah, totally. Oh my God. Like the duality of like, oh my God. Yeah. Of what can be inside two people. It's so true. Then they all go, they're all kind of like, yeah, we're all mad at each other. I do want to also note that because this is a through line that Whitney has now, she's post Alibaba because she knows that was one of the biggest flops in the world, that whole thing, how it ended, that now she wants to make a huge meal out of the Bronwyn thing. Because we all know that Whitney does talk shit about Heather all the time. And Bronwyn rightfully probably heard how Whitney talks about Heather and told that back to Heather and said, hey, you should just hear. Whitney just talks shit about you all the time. I don't even know how you guys are friends because on the surface, it doesn't seem like things are good between you because we know they have a complicated relationship. But Whitney now wants to use that Bronwyn rightfully said something real and make that her storyline now, going, oh my God, Heather, you were right about Bronwyn. She totally is the kind of shit stirrer that you were talking about. And I think it's completely fake. You know, like Whitney knows what she did. She's just trying to deflect onto Bronwyn. Yeah.
We were talking about the seating chart for the reunion and Whitney's like dead last. And I was thinking about it. I was like, what is she even going to talk about? Like, if you asked me to recount what the hell she had going on this season, it's like, I don't even remember. Yeah,
I mean, because Alibaba was a flop. Alibaba was a complete flop. And then I don't really know what else she yeah, I don't know what else she has going on for her.
Yeah.
So that's why she's trying round 2 with this Bronwyn thing. She's just kind of jumping on the bandwagon of Heather's storyline against Bronwyn.
Yeah, it's also funny that Heather doesn't care anymore. Like, she's like, I already know that like Whitney says certain shit and we go back and forth. So I'm not really like surprised, and I don't really care about this accusation or this, like gotcha thing. And it's just funny that if you try and narc someone out about talking shit and the person who was talked shit about was like, it doesn't bother me that much.
Yes. Yeah.
You're like,
yeah.
oh, well.
Yeah. No, seriously. Yeah, exactly. And then as they're all kind of letting the lay of the land happen, I thought this was really wonderful, sort of a Santa-esque entrance for Meredith. She comes in, her and her whole family come in on a sleigh pulled by reindeers to the event. How did you feel? Did you like that entrance?
The jingle bells.
Me too. And it really, it was like, oh my God, this is going up in the pantheon of iconic entrances, along with Wendy on Potomac when she was driving around in that boat that was shaped like a car. Do you remember that?
Yeah. This is a non sequitur, but I saw a really great tweet this week that was, it said, "Giddy up, jingle horse, pick up your feet." Sounds like something a homophobic gym teacher would say.
Oh my God. I've never heard that.
Like, all right, come on, giddy up, jingle horse, pick up your feet.
Oh my God. Who said that?
It was on Twitter. I don't know.
Okay.
But I've read it like 3 times and I'm always like, that's good.
Yeah, that's very fun. We then, after Meredith comes in on a horse-drawn sleigh, or she comes in, and then this is when the actual Bat Mitzvah part of the thing starts to happen. Was there anything you wanted to highlight before the actual Bat Mitzvah happened?
No. They show that Seth gives Meredith his bar mitzvah shawl. I'm forgetting what they're called, but the special shawl that you wear during the ceremony. And he seems very moved by this entire thing. Like, he's loving it.
Yes. Yeah, he was very moved. He also did some very some kind of Seth things that I always notice. Like, I remember when he got to the thing, he has to put on a pink yarmulke, and Brooks goes, "Please, Dad, come on. Why do you need to do that?" And then Reed goes, "Dad always has to be the star of the show." I was like, oh my God, if my son said that to me, I would be so embarrassed. And then he also does that joke when he's giving the shawl. Like, he can't be serious. He had to make fun of the prayer or whatever.
Yeah.
And then later he does the thing where he goes, "I'm going to put my head under this tequila, dripping tequila." And Meredith goes, "Please, for the love of God, don't." And I was like, God, he really couldn't just keep the attention off him for very long.
Yeah, annoying. And then Mary shows up late. And it's one of the great comedy scenes I've seen.
Yes.
In a long time.
Yeah, I had no idea this was going to happen. I kind of went in with no expectation. So she's so late, first of all, right? I mean, so late, probably an hour late, I would assume.
Yeah. Yeah, and she's like trying to come around the back. She can't find the door. And so she's peeking in through the window, but she's literally peeking through the window behind the stage where the ceremony itself is happening. So everyone can just see her looking through. And she does it for so long. I'm like, I assume you can't see anything. Why do you keep trying?
I know. I was wondering, why do you think that she didn't know how the building worked?
Yeah, I'm like, just keep walking until you see a door. What are you doing?
Yeah, it was not a door or even close to a door. I watched it, and she goes to the corner of the building, and none of those windows even look like doors. I mean, it's not like a door in like Willy Wonka's room where one of them is up a little higher. It just was just windows, completely windows. And it was the perfect timing because, like you said, Seth is holding up this Torah against the window. I guess you're supposed to, you hang it up for all to see. And Mary's just peeking her face right under it at the time. But I was proud of Meredith that she didn't get derailed by it in any way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so Mary finally makes her way around through the door, and then for some reason doesn't just sit in the back or whatever. She like has to walk all the way through and then be like, excuse me, pardon me, coming through. Like, I'm like, couldn't you just like sat in the fucking corner like while it was literally while Meredith was giving her speech and like crying, and I was like, why are you making everyone like get up and let you by?
She went the furthest route you can go. Did you see? Like, it was up and then down and then through everything. But Meredith was good about it. You know, they kind of commented on it, but nobody like Meredith didn't do the thing where she was like, I cannot believe Mary was peeking at me, you know, through those windows and how late she was. I kind of liked that, you know, because people could have really made a big deal about Mary being so late, but they kind of just let it be a comedic moment.
Yeah.
You know,
it's kind of another case of Mary getting special treatment, or, I mean, it turns out by the end of this episode that I guess Mary and Meredith were much closer than I even thought. And then Meredith hates Angie more than I thought.
Yes. Amy, can you vamp for just 1 second while I do one thing that takes 5 seconds? I'm so sorry. Okay.
How are you guys doing? But yeah, I guess, I don't know. Mary always weasels by. She, people, I don't know why they don't get that mad, as mad at her as you would think.
Yes. Thank you for vamping. I am so sorry. My something personal happened, but thank you so much for taking over. So where are we? We'll leave that in possibly if you said something good. I'm sure you did. Of course you did.
Well, I guess it's like it goes right into what we're talking about, because Mary tells Meredith that she's proud of her. And but then she brings in the fact that she's like, I've never had someone walk out of my house. And they sort of apologize to each other. Mary's like, we'll learn from this. She's like, we've been through the worst together, literally, which I'm like, does that mean Jen Shaw? Does that mean Monica? Like, what do you mean by that? Like, that's the worst of the worst.
Yes, what they dealt with Monica, for sure. No, I loved that. I also was like, oh, what Mary is saying makes more sense. She was really offended by Meredith having that big dramatic moment of leaving her house. I was like, I get this now. And also, you give Mary so much grace for going through what she's going through.
Sure. Yeah. And
but I love that moment.
They say how much they love each other. Mary's like, I love you so much, baby. You don't even know how much. And she's like crying. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, I thought it was, I was like, oh, I like that this is a real friendship, a deep, real friendship. Did you already mention when I was away for 5 seconds that Brittany sort of announced that we were now in the post-Bat Mitzvah universe? Did you like that entrance that she did? She kind of comes into the room and she starts spinning and singing just all by herself. I thought that was like a really fun moment to sort of pivot from the Bat Mitzvah to the like party time.
Yeah. She's a very fun spirit.
Yes, definitely. This is when, okay, so I feel like the producers and everyone said, nobody do anything bad or weird at the Bat Mitzvah. You know, Mary gets to do that one sort of, who's the contemporary of Charlie Chaplin? Like, who's his best friend who was in all those... Anyway, Mary gets one comedic moment that everyone gets to laugh at. But then they said, can we extend, this has nothing to do with your bat mitzvah. Can we just have 4 hours where everyone goes nuts? You know what I mean? There was such a respectful, like obviously they would be respectful, but there's such a demarcation between when everyone wants to get fired up and talk shit. I feel like they were just like, please let us have this as a party to just have chaos happen.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Which brings in Bronwyn and Angie talking. Angie compliments Bronwyn's outfit, and Bronwyn's like, is an apology next after that? And she's like, oh, well, I was thinking the same thing. And Bronwyn's like, you think I owe you an apology? Which I'm like, I feel like everyone on this show has said that.
Yeah. Well, where do you stand on that? Because Bronwyn is, in my opinion, Bronwyn is acting like a legitimate person who, if you were at a campground and someone said, shut the fuck up with a raised voice 10 times, you'd be so offended and you would want an apology. But that's so like low level on shows like this that we kind of just take for granted that somebody would say, shut the fuck up, and no one ever would comment on it. But for me, Bronwyn is legitimate of being a first time, or is right for being a first time cast member and being like, no one can ever talk to me like that. Like, I will write you up forever if you tell me to shut the fuck up like that.
Yeah.
Do you feel that way at all?
Yeah. I guess I'm just like, the whole thing is performance no matter what. So I think she's playing into, like, I think she has preconceived notions about how mad she wants to be about certain things, or who she, like, the way she's acting towards like Brittany and Maylee in this episode, you're like, oh well, she just like under no circumstances wants to be seen with these people. So like,
right.
I think she would play, and then she like plays up to Mary, like she wants Mary to like her, so like she acts a certain way. So like, I think that this conversation could have gone okay. Angie, maybe she was a little bit condescending when she was like, okay, would you feel better if I said sorry for saying shut the fuck up? Like, it was had a little bit of attitude, but it was also like, you could just be like, fine, whatever, like, let's move on.
Right. Yeah. Now now I think Bronwyn did go too far by just not accepting the apology, because I read that as like, that's a legitimate apology, but Angie still wants to bring up her grievance against Bronwyn. But then Bronwyn, I'm like, what about this conversation makes you want to like leave and not talk to Angie anymore? It's like, you have to have this conversation with her.
Yeah, like she's like, that's not an apology, starts to leave. And then Angie's like, that's cheap. You should stay here and listen. She goes, so I'm cheap now. And it's like, that's not what she just said.
Yeah, that's not what she said. And also, Angie's really tired of trying to have fights with people and then them all leaving, because Meredith does that to her all the time. Yeah. So I feel like she's like, Bronwyn, come on, just stand here and let's fight together. Don't just leave me hanging. Is Angie's mad because Bronwyn said that secretly Angie and Whitney were talking shit about Lisa, but then when they rolled the clip, Angie didn't really agree with Whitney. She was just like kind of talking shit about Lisa, but Whitney was the one who said that thing about Lisa where she said she takes pleasure in people's misery or whatever.
I guess I'm kind of like surprised that conversation is still relevant, because I found that to be quite forgettable.
Yeah. And also Angie and Lisa have forgiven each other. So I guess maybe she was mad for it being a momentary derailing of their relationship. But either way, I didn't really agree with how Bronwyn acted. She was just kind of not accepting of Angie. And then I feel this is when Todd has to come over, right? And sort of...
Yeah. It gets like sort of amplified because Bronwyn is like, you're inserting yourself in Brittany's relationship. You accused her of fucking 10 guys. And Angie's like, I said 3, not 10. And then Bronwyn is like, and your language is always so nasty. And Angie's like, you're the one that uses crass, disgusting language, like ride a dick or like whatever. And they're like yelling at the Bat Mitzvah about like riding dick and stuff. And then Todd comes over and Angie's like, look who it is. Your much better half. She's like, Todd's the best.
Yeah, I was like, do you think you love Todd? Like, she was just saying all of these wonderful compliments to Todd. She was like, he's so great. You're a much better half. I love this guy. And then Todd is kind of like, can I get you both a drink? Or let's have a glass of wine together. And then Bronwyn is really upset because Todd is giving this olive branch to Angie, and she's like, why would you get wine for someone who's calling me a liar? She doesn't like how Todd is like handling this situation.
Yeah. So then the two of them go over to the bar, and he's sort of like, he didn't get as scary as I thought he was going to get, but he was still like pissed and like whispering and was like, you didn't let me say what I was going to say. Like, you didn't give me a chance. And then it seems like you can barely tell, but Maylee is like about to talk to them, and he's like, excuse me. And she's like, okay, I'll leave you guys alone.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like in this episode, she's like really trying to get her last ditch scene in, and like it never happens. Like, she never gets a minute.
This is worst case for a friend of, I have to say. Yeah. Maylee's journey on this season is rough as hell. Like, she was invited on that trip to, where the hell did they go? She was invited on that the Miller Ghost Tour.
Right.
She was a part of all of that. She had every opportunity to be just like Brittany and Bronwyn, and there's a lot of melee on the cutting room floor, I feel. So you're right. This was like last ditch effort. I got to be on this show. And then you end up just being excused by Todd to get away from you while Todd and Bronwyn have a conversation.
And then later insulted and just like looped in with Brittany as like another trashy girl.
Yeah, and then she tries to turn on Brittany too. It's barely because Maylee's getting her mic muted every single time, but she tries to use Brittany for as a punching bag too later. And I'm like, damn, you friend ofs are just completely turning on each other to get with the cool kids.
Totally. I feel like I personally don't even need to get into whatever happens with Whitney and Lisa, because it's just like them getting back into basically the Alibaba shit. Like, it's just confirmed that Lisa still hates Whitney and vice versa.
Yes.
I guess.
Yeah. But what I did like about it is exactly that. But what I did like was that Whitney was trying to start her storyline of being like, you were so right, Heather. Like, she wanted to have this big moment with Heather where she was like, oh my God, I took Bronwyn in and she was absolutely awful, trying to ruin our beautiful friendship. And Lisa goes, that's a complete fucking lie. You're just lying right now. And Whitney is so pissed that Lisa is stepping on her fake storyline. So I kind of liked that aspect of it, but it is a little bit of a retread and it doesn't really amount to much. So we can totally skip forward.
Yeah. Okay, so now we get to, like, Brittany and Bronwyn are briefly friendly for 1 second before what happens later happens. Brittany tells Angie, she's like, I mean, you basically called me a slut. And Angie's like, I haven't used that word since 1990. I said you were doing 3 guys. Britt's like, you said 10 guys. She's like, I never said 10.
Oh my God. Yeah. That's like the full Osmond family.
Yeah. All 10 Osmond.
All 10. Yeah. But yes, exactly that. But I want to say how offensive I found Bronwyn saying, like, whoever thought I'd be stuck with you guys. Like, that's basically what she says, that she's relegated to the friend of corner. I thought that was really mean. I mean, these are humans.
No, yeah. She's like a total snob. And then this is where she's like, well, while we're all being messy, Angie outside Brittany said that you probably called her a slut because you're one. And Brittany's like, what the hell? Why would you do that? She's like,
Yeah. Bronwyn completely betrays Brittany. It's really sad because Brittany says twice, like even in her confessional, she's like taking selfies with Bronwyn. She's like, I can't believe we're friends. I'm so excited. I hope we can stay friends for a hot minute, or whatever she says. And then Bronwyn immediately brings red meat to the OGs so that she can throw Brittany under the bus and get back in their good graces. It was like the most calculated betrayal I think I've seen like in a long time.
Yeah, and I love that Angie takes it so badly. Like, she says multiple times that as a good Greek girl, that it's not okay to be accused of being a slut. Like, and I'm just like, I mean, I think that's true for most cultures or people, period. But she says, like multiple times that specifically it's not okay because she's Greek.
Right. Yes. Yeah, I don't know what to make of this. A part of me is like, I know that Angie is being iconic this time, and I know people love it, but a little bit of me is like, I feel like maybe at like if an 8 out of 10 on the iconic scale or whatever, like I think 2 degrees she's kind of playing it up a little too much, and I noticed the fake dramatic moments. Not as bad as Whitney, but I'm just like, I know that for some reason, I don't think that Angie like gives a shit about any of this and is still trying to fight for the snowflake a little too much. I'm very excited for Angie to be post fighting for her spot next season, hopefully, because she's been deemed iconic, and just be comfortable. Because a little bit of this,
like, however elevated you think this part was, then the way Meredith responds then makes it like double. Like you think it's just like something dumb, and you're like, she basically, so she goes on to say, do I look like I have a high body count? I don't dress like I have a high body count, and I don't wear my hair like I have a high body count. And Brittany's like, it almost seems at first like Brittany's like laughing. Like she's like, you think my hair looks cheap? And Angie's like, yeah, it kind of looks pornish. And she's like, you think my hair looks slutty? But you still think she's kind of like, oh my God. Like, you know, like she doesn't seem like so upset at first.
I think she can't believe that Angie is like really saying these things because this is not the type of world that she thought that she was in. And she gets very upset as she takes that in, you know, like that Angie is really saying these. It's like she's playing in a different universe than Angie. Angie is trying to have iconic Housewives moments, and Brittany is taking this as reality. That happened with Bronwyn last week too. They don't think that these are actual things that can be said to them because they are so mean.
Yeah, she's like, that's high body count hair, that's a high body count dress, and those are high body count heels. And she's like, unlike me, I look like a mother. And Bronwyn is like, you are in like the sluttiest Versace dress I've ever seen with your nipples hanging out, which I was like, well, I was like, she's secure in the dress. But I would say in most circumstances in society, wearing what Angie wore to a bar mitzvah would be a lot.
Really?
Her tits were like completely out.
Oh man,
I've never so blind because the Housewives just dress like such skanks all the time. But I'm like, that to me would be like the most revealing dress I would ever wear in like even in like Vegas. And
oh my
it's
God.
So like normalized that like that's like a crazy dress to wear to a bat mitzvah.
Yeah, well, I'll take your word for it. But yeah, I mean, I think there's probably some truth to that. A high body count just means how many people they've had sex with.
Yeah, I feel like I associate that with like murder, but
yeah.
I guess it goes the other way too.
Yeah, and you can tell that this is an iconic moment, and Angie knows that she's having an iconic moment, and Lisa is next to her, and she's reacting, laughing, like she's the audience going, Angie, you are killing it right now, but this is so mean. like what are you doing, you know? And then Brittany's reaction was really sad to me. After she takes it in, and she's like, you think I have slutty hair? It's like, it's dawning on her what is actually being said. And she goes, screw you. And I was like, oh my God, that is so sad. Like, I feel like she was legitimately hurt and like, she didn't even know what to say. Like, you know, so that causes her to like really want to leave the party and stop filming.
Sure. I did enjoy. So then when she walks away, Angie is like, take your little bump it and walk away. And then Maylee like steps in and she's like, yours looks like a bump it too. And I'm like, she's a hair expert. So if she's allowed to shade anyone for any reason, it's hair.
Totally. Yes. I think that was the one excuse you can have. If you deal with hair all the time, you get to make fun of how anybody's hair looks. What is a bump it?
It's this like as seen on TV thing from like the early aughts that it's basically like a little like arch like I don't know if it was like foam or what it was made out of, but you would put it on like the crown of your head and then comb your hair over it, so it would give you like the illusion of a volume. Think like Snooki kind of.
Oh, totally. Okay, if I'm envisioning Snooki's hair, yes. And then was Lisa Vanderpump wearing one in the sexy, hot as hell photo shoot in season 5? Was that?
She might have had some structure under there. I don't know if she used a brand name bump it, but it's possible.
Okay. Then yes. So totally Angie's just saying she's saying what everybody's hair is wrong. Could you imagine? I would hate to be in the room with Angie when she was criticizing everyone's hair.
Well, even Brittany said on the after show, she was like, I knew my hair looked like shit.
Oh, she did? Oh, that's so sad. I feel so bad for Brittany. And then somebody goes, oh my God, Brittany's crying. And I swear Angie's reaction is bummed out. She's like, oh my God, I know that was mean. I'm sad I did that. The facade mask drops, the mean iconic, I'm having an iconic moment.
She's not really a mean person. Like,
no.
I think like Bronwyn is mean, like actually. But Angie's
snarky
like
mean.
Sweet. Yeah.
Bronwyn is the kid at the high school table that would be making fun of you after you left.
Yeah.
Angie is the nice. I know. No, I noticed that. I thought this was bad. A bad Bronwyn appearance. I was bummed out that Bronwyn did this. Angie is faking being mean to fit in with the cool kids, and afterwards she would give you her applesauce and be like, "I'm sorry they were all mean to you." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Angie is playing up her fake mean behavior. I know Angie so well. She's actually a secretly wonderful, nice person. I know Angie. And she is playing in this realm to have iconic moments. But I don't think this is her true character. And I really saw her face and she was like, fuck, I feel bad that I did this.
Yeah, Brittany's wandering around. She's like, I just got called slutty vibes. And then Angie's like, I didn't call her a slut. I called her hair slutty. And in my business, there's a difference. And I was like, I agree.
Yeah, no, totally. I do. I want to remark that Brittany is an amazing addition to this show. She's a completely unique personality. And I love the way what she provides to the dynamics. Like, she's just she is iconic in her own way, just as much as Bronwyn. Just a completely different person in this group.
Really?
So I want to give
her TikToks and stuff. She's off the rails.
She's killing it. Oh my god! I sent you one where she was dressed like Elphaba and she was riding up an escalator and she was going, "When no one in Vegas recognizes that you're the Wicked Witch of the West" or something, and she was singing that Denying Gravity song. I was like, this is so awesome. I the moment that I highlighted where she walks into the room and she just starts singing a musical song, I was like, this is so funny to me. I was loving it.
Yeah, she's a lot of fun. So then she runs into Meredith's kids when she's like crying behind a curtain, and she's like, I just got called slutty 90s hair. And Meredith comes over and she's like, I've never been slut shamed like that. And Lisa is like, Angie doesn't want you to feel bad. She goes, Angie, come over here. Like, here she is. Look at her. Like, come on, come apologize. And Angie's like, I love your hair. I didn't mean it. And Lisa's like, she's lying. She hates your hair. She doesn't mean it.
Yes. Oh my God. Lisa wouldn't let her get away with that at all. And then I think, is this the moment where all of a sudden Lisa does give some advice for what Brittany can do to her hair, right?
Oh, right. Yeah, she's like, don't let her hurt your feelings, but you know what? You do need Kerastase Thermatique, or however you say it, which I think every woman on Earth, it went viral because everyone's like, I know what that is.
Really? So
what?
what?
Famous. I think it just like protects your hair from like heat damage.
Okay, so Lisa was giving her good advice.
She's
saying,
like, low key, your hair is fried as fuck. Like, you do need to start taking steps.
Wow, that was nice. I want to say about Meredith and Angie. I feel like Angie is using Meredith as her foil in a way. Like, I don't know if she's truly ever been mad at anything Meredith has done, but she knows that this is a good thing to always keep going because it's a conflict generator. But I think that Meredith has an accurate representation of how Angie is, but it's the fake representation that Angie is giving. So she's reacting to Angie's persona on the show, and I think Meredith is right. If you heard someone you hate, who you didn't even really want to come, but you know they came to get on the show, you heard that they called a guest that was actually invited a slut at your party, I totally understand why Meredith is like, get the fuck out of my party.
Yeah.
Like,
there's no way she had any she had like no information. Like, it was such chaos that she just reacted straight off of Brittany being upset without really having any understanding of what had occurred.
She didn't allow any evidence to come into play. It was a very harsh ruling. But when Brittany is coming up to you crying, and she heard from Brooks that she was crying, her son, and she's like, I fucking hate Angie. Angie's horrible to me. And then now you just called someone a slut. Like, I don't need to know anything else. Get the fuck out of my party.
Well, I also liked when Angie tries to tell Brittany, she's like, you did first accuse me of being slutty, and she's like, no, I didn't. And Maylee's like, Brittany, and Brittany goes, she's like, shh, stop, like, you don't need to say anything.
I didn't like that.
Maylee just like wanted to get in somehow.
Yeah, so she would also betray Brittany to also get in with Angie and everybody else. I thought that was really shitty as well.
Yeah. So yeah, Meredith is fucking furious. She's like, if you called someone a slut and a whore, I don't know why you're here. And Angie's like, you invited me. And she goes, goodbye. Take your husband and go. She's like, we need security. Please escort her and her husband out. And Angie's like to the security guard, she's like, you don't need to escort me. I weigh 100 pounds. Like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, and and then they kind of do slowly get her out of there, and Angie is so pissed off. She says Meredith is a classless bitch as she is escorted out. Yeah. So wait, do you think Meredith was also definitely heightening her reaction as well because she thinks this is the perfect time to have an iconic moment for herself?
I mean, she seemed like actively furious. Like, I kind of believed it. And I guess so. She's like, I've seen Angie shame people, like including me before, where she accused her of like spreading her legs or whatever. But I assume this is also because of the unresolved podcast thing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, she calls Angie a disgusting, vile human being.
When you get those two words back to back about you, oh boy, disgusting and vile. That is absolutely horrible.
I also love when the security guard tries to give Angie a coat and she goes, that's Brittany's coat, not mine, and throws it on the floor.
Yes. Yeah, she was really doing it. This is kind of you can leave part 2, isn't it? Because didn't Meredith say you can leave at the Palm Springs table?
Yeah, I forgot that she tried to have the waiter escort her out. Like, she thought that like the waiter was a security guard for some reason. It was like, she's no longer welcome at this dinner. And it's like, that's not his fucking problem.
I know, totally. This is the second security throw out because remember in Potomac as well, Giselle does that to everybody. So I can't believe we're seeing 2.
I guess that's why when Mary told her that she could leave, Meredith immediately took it as a demand because she's used to demanding people to leave. Whereas Mary was like, I was just saying, like, if you can't get along, you shouldn't stay.
Yes. Yeah, I think you're probably right. They're outside. Angie is upset. She's kind of screaming. She's like, I really want Meredith to, like, come out here because she's so tired. She wants to have a full fight with Meredith if she can, but Meredith is elusive. Meredith leaves, picks up and leaves, does whatever. So Angie's kind of just ranting and raving to Lisa.
She calls Brittany a tacky bitch.
Yeah, tacky bitch. And then the false notes of Angie are kind of played in a montage at one point, and the napkin throw is the stuff I'm talking about, where I'm just like, Angie, if you could just cut the fake theatrical shit, you are 10 out of 10. Absolutely perfect, killing it. But the napkin throw, shoving her chair back when they showed that, the scroll, I was just like, let's just cut the fake dramatic shit. You're already iconic. You don't need to throw the napkin over your head like that, in my opinion. Right. I know a lot of people absolutely love that, but that's just my thought.
Yeah. And then this is where Bronwyn is standing with Britt and Maylee, and they're like, let's take a selfie. And Bronwyn goes, I don't have slutty hair, so I'm not in the picture. And she like leaves. I was like,
oh my God. I didn't even hear Bronwyn say that. She's horrible.
Like, fuck you guys. I have nothing to do with you non-snowflakes.
So do you think Bronwyn, in an effort, like now that she was mean to Brittany, did she get some, does she get to party back with the OGs, you think? Or do you think she has to do more groveling to get back in that world?
Well, I guess the trip will shake that up, you know? Like,
right.
The dynamic totally shifts when they travel, so I'm sure she'll find her way in. And yeah, that's already next week. I like couldn't believe that that's already happening. Like, Lisa says to Meredith, she goes, cheers to Puerto Vallarta. And Lisa, then they do a thing where she lists every single beef. And she's like, but before all of those happened, I planned the perfect girls trip. And so that's happening next week. And then did you watch the after show?
No, I didn't. Please tell me what happened.
Well, I think I'm trying to remember. I think Angie doubles down and says that Brittany was giving slutty pour some sugar on me music video midlife crisis looks.
Oh my God. Like in a rat music video?
Yeah. Like video vixen, which isn't wrong. And then Mary is like she's kind of laughing at it. She's like, I think Angie said it was giving midlife crisis, and then Mary was like, well, she's past midlife. And then,
Oh no. Oh my
and then
God.
Angie's like, I could have gone so much lower. And Mary's like, how much lower could you have gone? And then Bronwyn, like, Bronwyn and Whitney, like, rip Brittany to shreds. Bronwyn's like, I just produced my first Broadway show, which, did she say that on the show? Is that new information to us?
Bronwyn did?
Yeah, I looked it up. She co-produced the that cabaret revival. That, like, remember that Eddie Redmayne thing that was going viral? There's like a cabaret on Broadway right now, and Eddie Redmayne was in it before, and now I think it's Adam Lambert.
Wait, what happened to Eddie Redmayne?
There was that viral. He performed at the Tonys, I think, and everyone was making fun of his performance.
Really? And so then they
that?
No,
Your Twitter's different than mine.
I stay clear of any Eddie Redmayne related content, so I missed that. Oh, I think I found a photo of it. So then did they say you can't be in cabaret because of this?
Well, he did his stint, and then he moved on.
Bronwyn's producing cabaret on Broadway.
Yeah. I mean, she's just using Todd's money. I guess that's just a new thing she wants to do. But despite that show opened in like May or something, like this year, and she's already like, I've never heard of Brittany. I've never heard her name come up on the Broadway scene. And I was like, why would it? Like, what are you talking about?
Everybody on Broadway.
And then Brittany's like, I was in Miss Saigon with one of Andy's best friends.
Oh, that's so sad. That shows me that Brittany, well, first of all, I feel like she's the punching bag, like Jennifer Pedranti on OC, and everybody feels comfortable talking shit about her to make themselves feel better. That's obviously a horrible characteristic of people, but it also makes me wonder if Brittany does something horrible throughout the run of the last few episodes and everybody feels justified in not liking Brittany. Right. Like maybe Jared Osmond comes on the Puerto Vallarta trip or something. She accidentally invites him.
Yeah. But yeah, I keep getting clips of her doing like The Little Mermaid at Disney World, and she has a performance history, but they were trying to say that she lied about being on Broadway.
What Brittany did in the Broadway space is better than what Bronwyn did in the Broadway space. You just paid money to be a part of cabaret. Brittany performed at some point. I mean, I give her a lot more credit than Bronwyn.
She could be on her way to buying an EGOT, because that's how a lot of people get that tea, is producing a play. Like, that's what Candy Burris, she produced a play. I think Jennifer Hudson, her Tony win is from producing.
I think we just found a hack to get the first tea in EGOT. You and I donate about $1,000 to some play that is kind of ripping on Broadway, and then they have to share it with us as a profit participant or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they just give out like, it's like GoFundMe or like a Kickstarter.
Yeah.
They give out 1,000 Tonys.
Oh my God. What's the next hot Broadway play? Did you see anything when you were in
Sunset Boulevard?
Really? Oh my God. Well, I would love, how bad I want Turtle Time to get an EGOT. So there is something to be said about doing it that way. If you want to do it like that.
Totally.
Well, anything else on the after show that you liked, or was that, that's a lot. I can't believe I missed that.
It's worth watching because it's only 15 minutes and it's funny, and it's like the pair ups are interesting. Like, let me see, what was it? It was Brittany and Lisa Barlow. So like, you can tell Lisa's so pissed that she got that pairing. And then Angie and Mary, Bronwyn and Whitney, and then Meredith and Heather. But yeah, you can tell the whole time that Lisa's like, I can't believe I got paired with fucking Brittany.
So you don't think Lisa likes Brittany?
I think she sort of like is entertained by her, but still thinks of her as like a minion or like a lower level,
Okay. All right. Okay, well, we'll see. The jury's out on Brittany, but as of now, as a viewer, I think she is a wonderful addition to this cast. So we'll see. Doesn't it seem like she's kind of a fan favorite in a way? I guess everybody loves Bronwyn so much that there's no time for Brittany, but I feel like everybody generally likes her.
Yeah, she should be on Turtle Time.
Oh my God, that would be so amazing. I would love for her to just start out singing a song. I would love, oh my God. Like any song she wants, she could just start singing it. I was thinking, I hate to just think about guests or whatever, but I was thinking Well, never mind. I'll save it. This is going to be a huge reveal once we actually get this guest. But I absolutely want Brittany. You would want her, right?
I think it would be, we'd have no way to know what was going to happen.
Oh my God, that would be the best guest ever. We'd say you choose whatever song you want to start out with, and you just sing the full thing. I guess it would have to be copyright friendly, right? So maybe it'd have to be Camptown Races or...
Yeah, something 100 years old.
Do you want to... Okay, how do you feel about segueing from something that was great to another thing that potentially people would say is an amazing, great thing, which is this week's episode of Southern Charm?
Raising Cain.
Raising Cain. So at first
I
read
about that title.
So at first I said, oh my God, they wanted to promote Raising Cain, that chicken finger place, because remember Madison and everyone was selling chicken fingers for the day. Do you remember that?
Ariana did that. Some of the Dodgers did that after the championship. Like, they must really shell out to have those promotional, working behind the counter celebrity events.
Yeah. So my first thought was this is paid promotion. And I was like, Madison is going to be behind the counter of Raising Cane's, and like Shep and everybody's going to come to get chicken tenders. But then when I realized what it was about, I was like, oh, that's great. That's a wonderful title, because there are so many Cains in this episode. It's perfect.
And I think isn't that like a turn of phrase anyway?
Yeah,
Raising Cain has something to do with Cain and Abel, I think.
Yeah, Cain is a hellraiser, or Cain is such a shitty, like he was so horrible. He killed Abel, and then God said, what have thou done with thy brother? And Cain goes, I didn't do anything. He's like,
it's like that movie with Elijah Wood and what's his name?
Good son.
Culkin.
That is Ian McEwan wrote that. That is basically exactly. Wow, if you search Cain on Google, they have his birth date as 3900 BC, and he lived until 3200 BC, after he killed Adam. But yeah. Anyway, so Raising Cain, I'll look up what that means, but it's like something like you said about Cain and him being kind of shitty. So this Southern Charm episode was, how did you feel? I thought I was so happy.
Yeah, I was felt like a warm blanket being back in Charleston with these people that we know so well. There's like a new addition, but generally it's kind of the same group. Taylor doesn't do much in this episode, so I'm curious if she will be really in the mix, because I'm a little bit like, they kept her but not Olivia. Like, I guess maybe they only wanted to keep one ex with a new boyfriend or something.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't really understand what's going on with the sort of casting structure of Southern Charm, but what I noticed this episode is that Craig, Shep, Austin, and Madison are on a completely different tier than everyone else. Yeah. I was like, if Taylor is a cast member, like, they don't even barely show her until 30 minutes into the episode. Like, I don't know if she'll have like scenes with her like home life or whatever, but it didn't seem like it. It seemed like that bus to the Cup, Carolina Cup, was like all of the friend ofs, and then we have the powerful cast members are just Madison, Shep, Austin, and Craig.
Yeah, like Vanita is just there to like give JT a friend, I guess.
Because
no one gives a shit about him.
Yeah, totally. Oh my God. Well, so I'll start out, but it kind of has it's structured like we get this family farm trip first. Mm-hmm. So the huge thing that happened in the off season is Craig, Shep, and Austin are not in the best place. So Craig and Austin are taking a trip to Shep's family farm in Boykin to kind of, find peace within their group, because as Shep tells it, after the whole drinking shit at BravoCon, and even after, they kind of wrote him off, and he had this whole like journey of potentially not sobriety but working on himself, and they were nowhere to be found. Mm-hmm. So things are not good in this trio at the start of the season.
Yes. Even so, like, first of all, I love they showed Shep getting ready, but right before he got in the shower, he starts reading a book and it starts playing classical music. Like he's, reading his classics again, and then it stops and he gets in the shower and you see his butt. And I was like, I haven't seen that in a while since like Jax used to always show his butt getting in the shower.
Yeah, I was surprised too. I was like, do we see Shep's butt? But I was like, we do, I guess, in this Southern Charm universe. Also, he's reading Michael Lewis, I noticed. I looked at the cover and I was like, yeah, Michael Lewis, The Fifth Risk. So I was like, cool, I like to know what Shep's reading.
Did he write Moneyball?
Yep, Moneyball.
Yeah.
And this book called Going Infinite, I think, that I read, that was wonderful.
Yeah.
But anyway, he's reading that. And then they drive to his house, Austin and Craig. There's a little bit of silly stuff where they're like, oh my God, Craig, you left the trunk open.
And he went down a one-way street.
Yeah, he's driving like shit.
I know. I love that. That's the thing that I'm waiting for. Like, there is an irony to him being the most buttoned up one. Like,
yeah.
There's a little bit of a crack in that idea that Craig has his shit together the most. I mean, he's certainly doing much better than the rest of them as far as relationship and health, and like I do think he's grown and doing a lot better, but I'm like, it's a little bit like disingenuous for him to act like he's like, I'm leagues above you guys now, like I can't be brought down by your shenanigans. It's like, okay, you haven't been like this that long, like come on.
Yeah, no, totally. And it's hard for Shep to think of Craig like that, as someone that like can bestow advice on him and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so they get there and Shep just opens with saying, you guys really hurt my feelings. I counted you as my friends, and when I was going through a tumultuous time, you weren't there for me at all. And I think Austin and Shep are sort of saying, we've been down this road with you so many times.
Yeah.
And so they've dealt with him having these ups and downs and being drunk as hell and doing all this stuff. So they kind of didn't know where on Shep's journey he was and what he needed from them, which kind of made sense to me.
Yeah.
But then what I didn't like is what you just alluded to, which is when Craig said, your drunken BravoCon behavior was bad potentially for my business. And I was like, how is that true? Being drunk, stumbling around in Vegas at BravoCon somehow looks bad, makes sewing down south look bad. I wasn't really sure if that made any sense to me. Did that to you?
Yeah, no. I think he's just like, he's trying to turn a new page. He's like with Paige. And so I think he's like, I used to be a total shit show also. And I get that. Like, if your bond mainly was with you guys partying, I do think that's like a hard thing to be like, can we be friends while not partying, But yeah, they like show the montage of Craig's shitty moments from up until I think the last one was like 2021 or 2022 or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think it's a little, I don't know. It reminds me of like the Vanderpump Rules stuff where people are like, if certain cast members are like, I'm so above this now or whatever. And I'm like, that's fine. You can move on. But like, you were actively participating in that same exact bullshit the whole time.
Totally. Yep. I agree with that. I did like when they showed the BravoCon moment again, because you and I were in that audience. And I like when they show Craig's eyes darting to Shep when Shep kind of stumbles into a seat. And in the audience, I didn't think Shep was that drunk. I don't remember. He was kind of coherent and didn't, you know what I mean?
You could tell he was drunk, but you're like, who cares? Like, that's the point of this whole thing. Like, it was a Watch What Happens Live with like shot skis and like stuff like that. I mean, what we saw after hours was another story where you're like, oh, like he's keeping the party going.
Yes, definitely. Shep is conflicted because he like wants their attention, or he wants them to be his friends, but also he feels like they're kind of treating him like shit and making him work for it again. He's like, this is so far beyond my concept of a friend, like how you both are treating me, and I understand that, coming from Shep.
Yeah. I didn't know Craig like literally at the table drinks a non-alcoholic beer. Like, I didn't know he's not drinking at all. I thought last I checked, it was like he wasn't doing liquor, or he was like just doing wine and beer, but not too much. And is he just like straight up sober now?
I think so, yeah. And he said, I'm much happier and healthier. You think that's true?
I mean, he looks good. I mean, Shep looks a lot better, but it is funny every time Shep talks about his journey, he's like, I'm trying to drink less. Like, I'm like, you couldn't just do like a phase of total sobriety.
Yeah. They also alluded to the fact that after BravoCon, they said you were still raising Cain all throughout Charleston. You know,
like that's because you guys wouldn't talk to me.
Yes. Then so they all go at the table. They go, let's just agree to reset. They all have their feelings, but for the most part, everyone wants to be friends again, which I was like, okay, this is the perfect opening. They're like, address the situation, but they want to get past it, and then we'll deal with the fallout of what it means to be friends again. I was like, that was perfect. Then I loved this moment. Shep says, let's let Craig cook us a wonderful meal. Let's go into the drawing room or whatever that kind of special, beautiful room was, and I just want to talk to you solo. And this is when I was like, oh my God, Southern Charm is hitting on a new level, because we get ayahuasca involved, which I've never done ayahuasca ever. Have you?
No.
I think I would be, I don't want to even say it. I would be dead within 5 minutes of being on ayahuasca. I would be just face down in a ditch somewhere.
Yeah. You like spit your brains out and like barf your brains out.
I would just be done. I would be absolutely gone. But Shep went to Costa Rica after BravoCon, somewhere there, and he went on a wonderful vision quest. He goes, they jam-packed 30 days of therapy into one ayahuasca pill that you take. And he goes, and then this was the beautiful moment. He goes to Austin. He goes, I've been thinking about all this shit. And I was thinking about how I was so pissed at you after the Taylor stuff, where even after you kissed Taylor and you lied to me, that you were still not even like responding to my text messages or keeping me in my life after I wanted you as a friend. And then on ayahuasca, I had this vision of you and your sister. And I was like, oh my God, like what amazing revelation for Shep to have. And people will say, oh my God, you should always remember, like, you know, like, oh my God, always keep in mind empathy or whatever. But for me, it was the exact same thing. I was like, oh my God, Shep like realized that he had so much empathy for Austin because Austin is still affected, like everyone would be, from childhood trauma. And he was like, I had so much empathy and tears were flowing for you. And I just realized that like none of that shit matters. It could have been some response to childhood trauma, but I loved you in that moment. And I thought that was like so beautiful. In my opinion.
I couldn't tell though if Austin was into it. Like
he was. Oh, I think he was. I really think he was.
I don't know if it was just that he didn't want to get upset, but he's had more heart-opening moments about his sister than he gave Shep here. Like I was a little bit like, he was like, why are you talking about that right now? Like,
oh, really?
I felt a little bit of like resistance, and I don't know if it was just that he didn't want to get upset himself. But like, he didn't really there wasn't much back and forth. He just said, you know, he said, those were the dark ages for my family. He said, I talk to my therapist about all the time that like, cause Shep was saying there was a coldness or like a lack of, like emotional understanding when he did that stuff with Taylor. And he's like, it's probably because you were so, you know, like heartbroken that you don't like open up like that anymore. And he was like, yeah, I always talk about it in therapy, that it affects me, whatever. I don't know. I guess I just wanted more. It was such a like insane thing to say. Like, it was almost like, it felt like it needed more of like a precursor where like to be like, what I'm about to say is like kind of insane. Like
he gave him warning. He said, this is going to be really raw. I think that you're right. I think that Austin didn't want to go fully down the road right then. And like, while you're drinking beers, you just got to the family farm. I think he gave him the 20% that he wanted to say about that. But if he lingered there, it's going to be a dark, deep conversation.
Right.
So, but I think he recognized what Shep said enough. And I love what Shep said. Even you could say people are callous or whatever, but I think everyone, you know, can get an empathy injection, you know, at any time, and it really helps. And I was glad that Shep had that moment. I you know, so I don't know. Let us know, little turtle cuties, if you didn't think Austin was receiving that as much. But I felt
Well, so that one I was like, that's sweet because that actually is one of his like dearest friends, and that is something that would happen to me if I was like drunk or something, and all of a sudden you'd be like, your sister died, and I cannot believe that happened to you, and I'm so sorry, that's horrible. You know, when you just like feel like so empathetic.
Or on Molly.
Exactly. I wasn't gonna dox myself, but yes. But then the Taylor one was like funny.
Yes, that's when Craig unfortunately was only listening to the second half of the ayahuasca journey, and that one was more ridiculous, which is I don't know. I mean, it was still insightful to me to just hear.
It was an interesting like a storytelling of the way he saw their relationship.
Yeah, I was like, whoa, like this, there is, I mean, it doesn't matter because this is Shep's vision. So I was just so happy to hear it. But it's like kind of paternal, like I guess is like the negative of it or whatever. It's like, I built a nest. I brought Taylor into my nest and then I let her fly and I thought she would soar with wings, but she kept just breaking her neck on every window in the house and I couldn't get her to stop. I was like, wow, it's an
Not
interesting
wrong in the sense that she was just making a lot of bad decisions.
Yeah. And if you don't take it as like she was ignoring his advice and he set her off on a good foot and she didn't do anything good with it, I take it as he really hurt her and she continues to hurt herself because of the pain he caused. Yeah. I don't know if that's the revelation he had, but in this episode, you can still tell that Taylor is so sad about her relationship ending with Shep. I think this Gaston thing is a complete rebound relationship. She was almost on the verge of tears again. And no, if Taylor has gone past this, no offense, but I still felt that raw, tearful emotion at knowing that she still loves Shep so much and that he is so far from her now emotionally that like she had to just withdraw from the situation because she was too upset.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, Austin also, his takeaway from that, he was like, I just had something like that happen with a bird.
Yeah, he was like, I had a bird. He thought that the revelations were still applying to him. It's like, no, we moved from your beautiful vision that Shep had. Now he had a separate vision about Taylor.
Yeah, that's where Craig is like, these guys are so fucking dumb.
I thought Austin was feeling it, though, because I also liked when Austin said, I thought that he was going to go on ayahuasca and he was going to be like, I realize that you are actually an awful friend and you treat me badly. Yeah, your vibe is completely off, but he had this empathetic, beautiful reaction. So that was nice.
Yeah. Just a quick, there's a quick scene with Madison shopping with the newbie Molly, and I just want to say off the bat that she seems fun to me, and I like it.
Me too. I like Molly too. I think you and I have a pretty decent radar for when someone's going to be a flop or they suck instantly. Molly, I had the exact opposite reaction. I was like, pretty funny, comfortable on camera, says great things in her confessionals, has the
sexed with Craig and has a question mark relationship with Whitney.
She made him lamb shanks and mutton. And she said, why the hell didn't this work out? Because I made him the best lamb shanks you could ever eat. And so she has like a natural connection to the cast, which I thought was great. And Madison likes her, which was really nice.
That's a good sign. We also skipped over the fact that Austin has a new girlfriend, Audrey, who he calls a number of different names: Pooks, Pookie Monster, Pookapotamus. And he says they've been dating 3 months. And he's like, yeah, it's still weird to introduce her as my girlfriend because I don't usually do that. And so he seems very proud of himself that he has a real girlfriend. But then later it comes up that potentially they've been together a year, and then he was seeing other people, but he only thinks 3 months. So I don't know how you feel about all that.
I don't think it's going to be true. So the friend of Bus kind of thinks that they've got a fun thing they can play with, which is like, oh my God, 3 months. I know someone that he made love to in Charleston. I bet you that the timeline is like perfect, or Pookie doesn't care. And then I also, Pookie don't care. And then also when JT like raised his eyebrows to be like a Southern gentleman again, I was like, come on. You can't get mad at this. Who cares? This is you're over this. So I do want to get into the JT part of it because I feel like he's the secondary. He's the B plot of this episode. So JT has had a little bit of a literal fall from grace, it seems, between seasons. Like, in every way. I feel like the whole cast turned on him.
They hate him. And by the way, I read his comments. He did like a roundup post showing his like injury and stuff, because they did kind of do him dirty on the show where he's like, I thought I was going to die. I thought I was going to lose a leg. There was blood everywhere. And then they showed just a photo of his leg bruised. But then when I looked on his Instagram, there was one photo where there was a like a softball size knot on his thigh. Like, it was like disgusting. But they kind of played it like he was like a loser on the show. But
but he said, he kind of also said, he was like, the doctor said you'll live, it's not that bad or something. But it sounded bad to me.
But the comments on his page were like bad. Like, people don't like him.
Why?
I don't know. They were just like, you're not made for TV, honey.
That is so like, I recognize that JT has a lot of faults and flaws, and it was lame to watch him be the Southern gentleman that's attacking the toxic boys over and over again. But I still think there's a lot of merit to him, and he's entertaining and fun to watch. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I liked him the last season, but he kind of soured over time, and I have a feeling he's going to sour further. And like this first episode, I was like, I actually found almost nothing charming about him in this first episode.
I felt bad for him.
He's just like, he's kind of in a bad situation because he has no allies. Like, even on that bus, everyone's just like, what are you doing ever?
He got relegated to being a joke. Like, instead of being a cast member that shoots up to the rankings, and like now Austin and Craig have to contend with him, he's kind of like still B squad. And even like Rodrigo is taking shots at him, being like, this guy sucks. What the hell's going on with him? I felt like that is a pretty dramatic shift from how people were thinking about JT. They kind of all soured on him in the offseason. But the crash was bad. Him and Vanita now talk every day. They're kind of in communication all the time. They have a sort of a maybe budding relationship, because we saw a scene where JT kind of proclaims his love to Vanita at some point later in the season. So that was remarkable. And then that leads us into JT saying, I want to no longer be the antagonist to Austin. Like, he's learned his lesson. I don't want to do that anymore. He says, I want to start with a clean slate, olive branch, because I cannot be that person anymore. I think he realized watching the fuckboy exorcism shit that it was too much to just care that much about what Austin was doing. So then that leads into them getting ready to go on the bus to the Carolina Cup, if you want to start talking about that. Yeah.
So it's Taylor, JT, Molly, Rodrigo, Vanita, and Leva on the bus. And I was like, whew, even 10 halves don't make a whole. I was like, this is not a group. Like,
that is exactly how I felt. No offense, but I felt like they were all very aimless without a core. I felt like they were all like just sort of sputtering, not knowing what to do on camera. And even JT, Molly, Molly wasn't on that, right? Because she came with. Oh, she was. Yeah. So I was just like, this is not good. You all have to do stuff. I mean, if you want the coveted, power spots on Southern Charm, this is not the way to go. That's why
I feel like almost, I guess it feels like Leva is grandfathered in because of Southern hospitality. Like, she's like Lisa Vanderpump style, where I'm like, why are you even here? Like, I know she is technically friends with everyone. Like, she goes way back with everyone, but she really feels like an odd man out to me, where I'm like, she's almost like too senior to be with this group, but she's not involved enough to be with the other group. So she's just kind of like tacked on to me.
Yeah. She does, she doesn't provide a lot of, I don't get a lot of entertainment from Leva. I do think that she is just there so that Southern hospitality has the bridge, the connection to Southern Charm. But yeah, I mean, she doesn't even say anything in this episode, like barely even one word.
But yeah, JT is about to piss his pants on the bus, so they pull over to a rest stop, at which time he buys, for some reason, 1,000,000 canes, and he's like, I'm gonna bring them to the other guys to tell them that we're all okay.
Yes, Cain. So we all know okay. He says Cain, a little bit of a play on that. One thing I'll say in defense of Cain Gate is that I like that it was at least a spur of the moment decision, and he didn't board the bus with 10 canes of varying sizes. Sure. I like that he went to Love's. Is that what that gas station is called?
I didn't see which one it was.
Oh,
but yeah.
Okay. Love's, I think it was what it was called, and I like that at least it was impromptu. Not a calculated gag.
Yeah. I think he
Prop.
might have said in that Instagram post that I was looking at that it wasn't even his idea or something like that. Like he goes, P.S. The canes weren't my idea. Another cast member went into the gas station and got canes for those on the bus, but I wanted to make sure there couldn't be drama by not having canes for the rest of the squad already at the Carolina Cup. So I hobbled my ass back to the gas station and made sure everyone would have a cane just in case.
I believe him fully.
Well, sure, but like the problem was the canes were fucking dumb, but then the way he presented them, and then with Patricia, of course, was the main issue.
There was a lot of issues with this Cain humor. You and I have done it before.
It's Cain from Citizen Cain.
Yes. Oh my God. Famously, at the end of Citizen Cain, you find out that he loved canes. But I just think so many things went wrong here. I'm not going to step on it, but he gets a bunch of those canes. He says, I'm going to say, are you okay? I even bought tall canes for tall boys so they feel like they're tall. Whatever. Not great, but that excuse actually makes more sense to me, that it was spawned on by somebody else. But then they get there. We can talk about that, right? They get there. It's a beautiful tent for all of them at the Carolina Cup. Everybody's having fun. Madison is dressed up. Megan told me this, that she's dressed up Pretty Woman style. Is that why did she do that?
Well, apparently there was some sort of a polka dot mandate because Austin wore polka dot pants too, and they kind of mentioned. So I'm sure she was like, oh, this is like the polo scene in Pretty Woman. I'll wear the brown polka dot. And then later she makes a big mistake, huge joke, which let me know that it definitely was on purpose.
What does Julia Roberts do at that cup again?
I don't know. It's just one of the fancy events that she goes to. And then I think Jason Alexander starts being a perv.
Oh, of course. Oh, my God. He has to have sex with her. Oh, my God. Oh, I totally forgot that. Oh, my God. He tries to do a horrible thing to her in the hotel room. I'm surprised he was cast in anything again after that movie. Oh,
seriously,
my God.
Brutal.
Holy shit. I'm surprised he... sorry. All right. Well, here, I just want to say, so JT... So they're all milling about, having fun. Everyone gets out. And then JT comes out with all 10... Right? 10 canes under his arm, plus his cane. And then I thought of this for a second. He could have done the most iconic Willy Wonka entrance in history.
That's true.
Could you imagine if he would have dropped all 10 of those canes plus the one that he had?
Did a somersault and got back up.
Yes, but he doesn't do that because his leg is actually hurt by that ATV rolling over it.
Yes. And I feel like Austin is like... Everyone's like, what the hell do we have here? And he's like, all right, let's just like not beat around the bush. Let's get this done. And they play it for drama before the commercial as if like something horrible is going to happen. And he's like, Austin, I thought about you a lot after my near-death experience. And he's like, you're not going to beat me with that, are you? And he's like, no. I just wanted to give it to you as water under the Costa Rican bridge. And in his confessional, Austin's like, that guy's just fucking weird. Like, that was weird.
Yeah, so they're making fun of it. I thought JT did a good, like, I know this is lame. And he also says, sup, handsome kings, when he gets there. I feel like he starts off on a really good note. And, like, this is what he should have done. But they all think he's lame. So everything he does, they can paint with the lame brush, and especially him giving you a big, tall Cain from Loves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but you think it's lame as well, right?
Yeah, it was just like you could just like not do anything, like just be normal and be like, hey.
Yeah, I felt like once you have a bundle of Cains, I guess what he really should have done is just scrap it all together and not bring them out. But
Yeah.
I feel like, I don't know, like I like that he buried the hatchet. I wish that he wouldn't have done the Cain joke at all. He also didn't end up saying that "oh Cain" pun.
Right.
Did you notice?
Yeah. I feel like, because to me, Austin is like a dirtbag to his girlfriends and whatever, but I find him generally to be like a pretty like agreeable guy. Like you can talk to him. Like you could just be like, "Hey man, don't want to start off on the wrong foot this year," and he'd be like, "Okay."
Totally. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's a total prop gone wrong. I mean, one of the worst prop failures in Bravo history.
Big fail. Oh, I also wanted to say that when Madison and Austin were chatting, I'm like, I fucking love their rapport. Like,
Yes.
I love that she like hates his guts a little bit and like will call him a dirtbag and like call him out and stuff, but she really ultimately likes him.
Oh yeah, she thinks Austin is like so much cooler than JT in every way. Like she loves him and she'll stick up for him. I thought that was sweet too. I like that moment between them. They've like gotten so far past their relationship and they just like admire / care about each other, which I think is very sweet.
Also, she was on Watch What Happens Live, and Andy, they were playing a bunch of like, there were questions and you would answer Shep, Craig, or Austin. And I forget, he asked like who has the bigger something, and she goes, "Oh, I was afraid where you were going with that." And then the next question, he was like, "Who has the biggest dick?" And she said, "I just reporting to the people." She said she heard Craig.
Really? She's heard?
Yeah, and Andy was like, "How do you know that?" She was like, "I know people."
Wow. So you said out of Shep, Austin, and Craig?
Yeah.
Good to know. Well, I mean, I think
The
it's
files.
I think that's something I'll think about for sure.
Andy also did a very funny Austin impersonation, like the Madison.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's amazing. Oh, good. I got to watch that one. Also, then at this point, you can tell that JT is running on steam. Cain stuff didn't really work. Austin's kind of talking, out of the side of his mouth towards him. Even Craig thought it was weird, and Craig is usually really nice. And Craig sometimes likes the underdog, but he was treating JT like a little lame guy. With the Cain stuff, he didn't give him anything. And then JT is kind of sitting there and he's just like, this sucks. Like you can tell that he knows this is a huge flop. And then Madison is across from him at one point and he's like, she goes, "When is this Cain shit going to be over?" And he goes, "When I talk to God and he gets me healed again." And he goes, "Aren't you glad I didn't die?" And Madison won't even say definitively that she's happy that he's not dead. It's like, God damn, I felt so bad for him. And then we get Whitney and Patricia come. And I was like, okay, this is getting wild. I was like, oh my God. Whitney has maybe a new girlfriend that comes out of the car with them. What'd you think about that?
I agree with Molly. She was like, she looks low energy, like she needs to drink orange juice. Like she was like a waif. She didn't talk, so who's to say, but they didn't let her personality shine, so to speak.
I think that there was some stuff on the cutting room floor with what was her name? Do you remember?
I think it was Taylor.
Also. Oh my God. Yeah. Wow. Oh yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I didn't know what was going on with Taylor, but Molly made that remark. She was like, "What the hell does Taylor got that I don't have? I can't believe it."
I like Molly because she's like hot and funny, but she's like, "I gained 45 pounds. Like, oh well, like fuck it." Like I used to sex with Craig. Like but I was just like, whoa, we got a lot of information straight off the bat,
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I thought it was cool that she had dated Whitney,
I mean, that's such a like insane. It's like him and Thomas Ravenel. I'll never understand. Like, what am I missing? But okay.
Oh, totally. Well, they are South Carolina royalty.
I guess, but it's like, look at Whitney. Like, he literally was like dressed like Jack Skellington. Like, he is a vision for sure.
Yeah, he really is. But what about the Shep family farm thing? Like, I kind of forgot. But when he was like,
Yeah.
he was like, Boykin is named after my father's family, and that land was bestowed upon us because we betrayed the Americans in the American Revolution, and King George granted us with a bunch of land or something.
Yeah, he said that spiel before. I remember
Right.
it.
Early in the Southern
yeah.
Charm era.
But yeah, he's like goes all the way back. But yeah, so then Patricia, there are some friends there, like people that she likes that I think we've met before, but they sit down and Patricia's enjoying herself. Madison always takes good care of her. And then JT is like, "Oh, is that Miss Pat?" And he comes over and he's like, "Oh, I brought this cane for you." And she goes, "I don't need a cane." And then in her interview, she says she's genuinely offended and it's a stupid gift in her estimation. And Madison is like, he'll learn his lesson.
Yeah. She goes, "What a stupid gift." Vanita thinks it was horrible. And there's a moment where when JT does it, everyone is absolutely aghast. Their mouths are absolutely open and shocked that he just presented Patricia with a cane, because Patricia has no context for the cane stuff that's been going on.
Right.
So it just seems like JT just gave her a cane out of nowhere because he thinks she's old and she needs it. And Patricia's look is genuinely very offended. And then, which, I was so embarrassed for him, but I also totally understand that he didn't understand the ramifications of what it means to give a cane to an 80-year-old person. Do you know what I mean?
Like, he tried to be like, when she said she didn't need a cane, he was like, "It's just for style," or whatever. And it's just like, no, dude.
I know, but do you agree that JT didn't understand what he was doing? He was just trying to include Patricia in this cane bit that was still
he didn't
running.
Think it through that there's like a different interpretation to be had for her versus like Austin.
But that's the plight of JT, where everything he does looks lame. Even though if someone cooler or something did the exact same thing, people would be clapping and loving it.
Oh yeah, she would, like, if it was Shep or Craig or something, she would just like boink him over the head with the cane and probably just like joke around. Patricia did a video on Instagram showing her cane collection that was like inherited from her father, and they're all these really cool like silver and like pewter canes, and she's like, "They're just for decoration because I don't need them."
Totally.
She literally, when he sits down to join them, she gets up immediately and is like, "Let's get out of here." And then she tells, I think, Rodrigo, she's like, "I want to tell him to take that cane and shove it."
I think it's the most offended she's ever been in her life. I mean,
and they do a fast forward to the trip at the end of the season where Craig blows up his spot and accuses him of calling Miss Pat a bitch, which he denies, but I believe. And then it ends with Craig storming off. And I was like, wow, Craig still storms off sober. That's interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. You can totally imagine the world where after he was so embarrassed and defeated, JT did under his breath or to someone say, "Wow, Patricia, was a bitch to me about the cane." And then that getting back with no context or after you already offended her, it's just so bad. I mean, it's just anything revolving around Patricia just seems so bad. And I do feel a little bit of sympathy towards him that was just worst case scenario. Everything that led you there was wrong. Every decision you made was wrong, and everyone hates you. So they're painting the worst brush, of all of this behavior on you. And I can imagine a world where he gets to the sort of towards the end of the road and he's just like, "Fuck this. I cannot deal with this. This looks so bad for me."
Yeah, it is. She really is like the grand dame of the show. And I feel like since they're all so old school, like, I mean, her son created the show, so that helps. But like, she really is just brought in as this figure because everyone loves her and she brings a sort like a regal essence. But like, it doesn't really make sense that they hang out with her so much.
No, but it's a little more organic than it is with Lisa, because they
Sure.
just go to Patricia's beautiful home to have tea parties and stuff. I feel like she gets integrated a little better than Lisa does.
Sure.
But I do want to say that I love Patricia very much. But I do think that Patricia and Whitney as executive, is she an executive producer or just Whitney?
I don't think her name's on it.
I feel like there's a little bit of pruning that happens on this show when cast members become more powerful or antagonists or counter to the powerful base of Shep, Craig, and Austin. Because I really cannot understand the Olivia firing. The farther we're removed from it, I feel like Olivia would have gotten to the Madison, Craig, Shep place had she gotten another season. And I feel like JT was kind of a standout. Say what you will about him, but he provided a lot of fodder last season. Like he could have potentially skyrocketed to a powerful position, even if you hate him and you think he's a little stinker. And I think some part of Whitney and Patricia resent when cast members sort of blossom that's not within their control. That's just my theory.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, to me, Olivia wasn't like so standout, but if I had to choose between her and Taylor, I certainly would have preferred her.
I liked Olivia so much more than you. I think she did have just one thing that she was always reacting to, but I enjoyed Olivia's presence. Definitely worth a season 2. As the main cast member.
I think she's probably just, Taylor is such a wild card and like gets up to crazy shit. So they're like, if we're gonna keep one, we're gonna keep the one that's gonna get into trouble, not the one that's like normal.
Totally. But I want to say in Olivia's defense, lastly, because I don't think we'll talk about Olivia much more, unfortunately, because she's not on the show. But she did. I saw a podcast where they talked about all the reasons why she might have been fired. And she was kind of countered all of them. She was like, Madison did all the same shit. They're like, you got a relationship off camera or whatever. And she was like, Madison met Brett, married him. That complete arc of their relationship was off camera. And then we see Brett and he's just established in Madison's life. And she said the majority of them all live bi-coastally or not in Charleston full time. I forget who she specifically mentioned, but Vanita and all that stuff. Yeah. So the two excuses that they had for writing Olivia off don't really make sense.
Yeah, but I will say Madison can do whatever she wants because she's a shining star above all boyfriends, marriages, careers. I don't care about where she lives. I don't care. Like, she's just, when she's in the room, that's all I need.
I agree too. And I wasn't downplaying Madison's impact at all. I think she is one of the best casting decisions they've ever made. I need to know more about the excuses because those excuses don't really make much sense to me. I still don't fully understand it.
Yeah. I wonder if it just had more to do with the way they want like Austin's storyline to play out, or even though I think it would have been interesting to have her around and like bump up against him having a girlfriend and her having a boyfriend, like I think that would have been interesting. So yeah, I'm curious about that. And then, I mean, we got to see Taylor run into Shep at the thing and it was the most awkward shit I've ever seen in my life. Like, it was like horrendous.
Yes. Shep, it was kind of, he texted her that ayahuasca trip story. He said, you were a little bird in my dreams and you kept banging your head against a bunch of glass. And then he goes, that thing bounced back to me. And Taylor goes, I don't know if I might have blocked you or something. But then we find out specifically she did. And I think it is just because she's still so hurt. But she says it's because she doesn't want anything to do with Shep while she's having the best relationship of her life with Gaston.
Yeah, it seemed like she really couldn't even talk to him for like 2 minutes, like before she was gonna get upset.
Yeah, I thought so too. That's exactly how I felt. Anyway, wonderful episode. The future looks bright. I can't believe that we have a cast member that is going to quit the show, but that was so integral to the season premiere. And we know this storyline with Patricia versus him is going to keep going. I'm so interested in how they're going to work that out with JT no longer being a part of the confessionals and what's going to be the final straw that made him leave.
Right. Yeah. I wonder how they'll play that. But no, I was so happy to be back. I love it. Bapa-doo, bapa-dee-dee-dee.
Yep, exactly what you said. Well, good. Well, how do you feel about Turtle Time wrapping up today?
I'm pleased.
Okay. Okay, good. All right, well, it's Turtle Time Tuesday when this comes out, right? Which I'm sure people will be absolutely shocked. They'll be like, "What the Triple T Tuesday?" That's when we do our best episodes. Turtle Time Tuesdays are the Triple T, and these are the best episodes of Turtle Time. And I want to lastly, as we close out, I want to say one thing, which is that it's the wonderful holiday season. And so if you say, oh my God, I forgot to get my dad a gift, he's one of the hardest people to buy for. What do I get him? A wallet again? Disney Plus subscription, a flask, a ironic t-shirt that says my boobs are up here or whatever. Don't get him that. Go to Turtle Time Etsy and, well, actually, sorry, not your dad, but anybody in your life who you don't have a gift for, go to the Turtle Time Etsy shop and look around there and see if there's a Bravo fan in your life. They might like some of the Turtle Time merchandise for the holidays. And I think right now might be bordering on the last time, if you concur, that you can get it before the holidays, right?
Yeah, I would do it now.
Please don't do it Christmas Eve night. You know what I mean? And expect a wonderful Frank Catania shirt to show up in your chimney via Santa Claus.
Yes. There's a lot of good stuff on there. I'll say that.
Yeah, I think there's so much fun stuff. And then also, if you said, whoa, Turtle Time Tuesdays, I wish there was even more stuff. I wish I could get an episode on Monday. Well, there is a remedy for that. If you go to the Turtle Time Patreon and you pay $5 a month, you get to become a Villa Rosa VIP. And for $5 a month, you get access to the entire archive of Amy and I recapping Vanderpump Rules from the very beginning. And we have recapped from season 1, episode 1 to the very end of season 5, basically. So there is over 90 episodes to listen to and enjoy for $5 a month.
It's true.
All right. Amy, anything else you want to say as we draw Turtle Time to a close?
No. Let us know if this is too much Turtle Time or just enough or you want even more.
Right. Did we stuff you up with so much Turtle Time that you don't even know what to do with it? Let us know. But anyway, all right, Amy, I will say goodbye to you and goodbye, little turtle cuties and Villa Rosa VIPs. We'll see you soon.